Now, KCAU 9 News starts with your forecast first.
And good afternoon, Siouxland. On this delightful day, most of us have temperatures in the 70s here at 5 o'clock, including a very comfortable 73 in Sioux City, 71 in Wayne and Yankton, right at 70 in Sioux Falls. Norfolk comfortable at 74. In the east, just slightly cooler, 68 in both Storm Lake and in Esterville, and 70 on the nose in Denison, Carroll, and Audubon. So lots to like here in our weather as we check our live Woodhouse Chrysler Skycam from the KCAU 9 studio in Sioux City. Mostly sunny skies, just enough cloud cover overhead to keep things interesting. What will be interesting tonight will be the temperature, dipping to some pretty chilly readings again. 67 degrees and pleasant at 7 with sunshine, but then light winds again, and clear skies will send us back down into the 40s, right about where we were last night. But the daytime will be delightful the next couple of days. Back in a few minutes to tell you all about weekend rain in the forecast. KCAU 9 News starts right now.
We are Siouxland proud. This is KCAU 9 News at 5.
And good afternoon. Thanks for being with us today. I'm Tim Seaman. The University of South Dakota is facing some challenging times as it considers whether to move the state's only law school out of Vermilion and into Sioux Falls. Meanwhile, USD is seeing growth in undergraduate enrollment, all as a result of an in-state tuition deal being offered to Iowans. It's our top story today. KCAU 9's Jamie Perez is live at USD with the annual State of the University address. Jamie?
Tim, President Abbott just finished delivering his State of the University address to all the faculty and students here in this building that you see behind me. Now, one of the main talking points was the increase in enrollment of students here. Now, data collected over the past year showed an increase of hundreds of students, and that was shown to be related to state funding.
As always, I have a little rundown on
One of the other main concerns is the future of the law school here on campus, and there has been a discussion of the law school moving to a different location, which in turn has caused some controversy. The latest on that situation coming up tonight at 6. Live in Vermilion, Jamie Perez, KCAU 9 News.
All right, Jamie, thanks. We look forward to the update a bit later. Additional details are emerging about a South Dakota double murder-suicide case. That's new at 5. Investigators now telling us that a mother used a semi-automatic handgun to shoot and kill her husband and the couple's 8-year-old son before taking her own life. The deadly shooting occurring in the family's home in the Lincoln County community of Lenox. Now, the woman is being identified by police as 35-year-old Stephanie Hoover. But authorities have not discovered the motive for those killings. Yesterday's mass shooting there in Lenox comes 2 years after a mass shooting at a steel plant in that same community. Elsewhere, there's been a deadly industrial accident at a northeast Nebraska egg processing plant. Authorities tell us that a worker was killed yesterday at the Michaels Foods plant in Wakefield. That plant flying its flag at half-staff today for that victim whose name has not yet been released. OSHA is investigating the death. A review of the agency's records by 9 Investigates found the same plant was fined nearly $30,000 after a worker was killed there back in 2014. That's the same year that 4 other plant workers were injured after being exposed to hydrochloric acid. 1 week after Hurricane Maria's landfall, Puerto Rico is in crisis. But some help from Iowa has just arrived. As we showed you earlier this week, a contingent of Iowa Air National Guardsmen and women were being deployed to Puerto Rico. The roughly 30 Iowa National Guard troops, including members of the 185th Air Refueling Wing from right here in Sioux City, have now arrived to begin helping in that recovery effort. ABC's Ariel Reshef has a look at the conditions that they're facing.
1 week after Hurricane Maria carved this path of destruction, Puerto Rico is in peril. More than 3 million Americans living in the U.S. territory now in the grips of a humanitarian crisis. The electrical grid devastated, residents without power, food, or clean water.
It's been hell. It's been absolute hell.
And conditions growing more dire by the day. Local officials sounding the alarm, the mayor of San Juan begging for help.
But President Trump, please, whatever you need to do, let FEMA do their job.
President Trump addressing the disaster today.
Puerto Rico's a very difficult situation. I mean, that place was just destroyed. That's not a question of, gee, let's dry up the water, let's do this or that. I mean, that place was flat.
And planning to visit next Tuesday. 16 U.S. Navy ships are assisting with relief efforts, ferrying in more than 4 million meals along with much-needed supplies. But the aid trickling in not numbing the agony.
I have not heard from my grandmother since Hurricane Maria.
I would give anything I could to hear my dad's voice. Just to know that he's okay. That's all I just want to hear him.
Loved ones still in the dark amid a mounting catastrophe.
And officials say one of the biggest hurdles now is transporting aid from San Juan to other parts of Puerto Rico. Several areas still saturated by floodwaters, making travel nearly impossible. Ariel Reshef, ABC News, New York.
And if you'd still like to help out those hurricane victims, you can go to our website. That's SiouxlandProud.com. Right there, you'll be able to find a link that will allow you to donate directly to the American Red Cross relief efforts. Well, after striking out over health care, Republicans in Washington are shifting their focus to tax reform. President Trump today outlining a plan that's already drawing support from a couple of Siouxland's U.S. senators.
I hope that there will be some Democrats who are willing to work with us, because this is what they say they're for. If they're really for middle-income tax relief, why wouldn't they join hands with us and make it a possibility for the American people?
You call it a plan, he may call it a plan. It'd be better to call it a framework. It's a broad outline. Like instead of having 7 brackets, an individual, we'll have 3 brackets. This framework, as it should be called, is just a broad outline, and I like that broad outline.
Now, KCAU-9's Mark Meredith with a closer look at that tax plan.
President Trump calls it simple economics. Cut taxes and the economy grows.
By eliminating tax breaks and loopholes, we will ensure that the benefits are focused on the middle class.
During a speech in Indianapolis, the president laid out his framework for tax reform. Among his ideas, cut the corporate tax rate from 35% down to 20%, eliminate the lowest tax bracket of 10% and the highest, 39.5%, reduce the number of tax brackets down to 3, 12, 25, and 35%, while also doubling the standard deduction. House Ways and Means Chairman Kevin Brady of Texas sees the plan as a strong start.
The Ways and Means Committee is ready to turn this framework into legislation.
Republicans are hopeful tax reform will be an easy sell. Democrats tell us they're willing to listen, but many lawmakers say reform will only happen if both parties work together. Florida Senator Bill Nelson.
Partisan squabble over health care is over. We can now move forward in a bipartisan way.
But fellow Democrat Senator Chuck Schumer says Republicans are only looking out for one group, the wealthy.
They're going to be in for a rude awakening, because the American people are going to rise up against this.
Congress will hold the first hearings on tax reform in October, and the White House says it wants Congress to vote by the end of the year. Reporting in Washington, Mark Meredith, KCAU 9 News.
In addition to talking taxes, lawmakers in Capitol Hill this afternoon also discussing what can be done to combat the increase in suicides among our nation's veterans. Washington correspondent Anna Wernicke examines this growing problem that some are calling an epidemic.
We all agree that this is a crisis.
The epidemic of veteran suicide is a crisis that Arkansas Republican Senator John Bozeman says is getting worse.
In Arkansas, I think we're number 10 in suicide rate overall.
The Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs took a look at this report released by the Department of Veterans Affairs earlier this month. It shows that 20 veterans commit suicide every day.
Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal blames the startling numbers on what he calls the VA's biggest problem.
What I am hearing again and again and again is that the suicide rates are increasing among veterans who lack access.
Veterans Affairs Secretary Dr. David Shulkin says he is working to fix this.
But we can't help those that we don't see.
He is asking senators for more money to set up more hospitals in rural and urban areas. But Craig Bryan with the National Center for Veterans Studies says even vets who get treatment still might not get the help they need.
What unsettles me the most as a veteran is knowing that when a fellow veteran overcomes these barriers,
he or she is unlikely to receive the treatments that are most likely to save their lives.
What we're trying to do is more aggressively than ever before to outreach to veterans that aren't getting access to care.
Secretary Shulkin says if the VA gets more money, it hopes to hire up to 1,000 mental health professionals to help veterans before it's too late. In Washington, I'm Anna Warnicki.
Meanwhile, back here in Siouxland, local veterans were honored this morning at a free breakfast. Waffles for Warriors takes place the last Wednesday of each month at the Support Siouxland Soldiers headquarters. That's out on Indian Hills Drive. Volunteers serving up waffles, sausage, and eggs to our Siouxland heroes for a couple of hours earlier today.
Well, it's important to take care of our veterans. You know, they've served and sacrificed for us, and so the least we can do is thank them for their service, invite them in, make some waffles and breakfast for them, and just see how they're doing.
Waffles for Warriors is one of several big thank you events that the Siouxland Support Soldiers group holds for active duty military members as well as veterans, and that happens throughout the year. Well, our KCAU-9 family has grown in the past month. KCAU-9's Jenna Renstrom has a little update that she'd like to share with folks today. Jenna?
That's right, broadcasting live from maternity leave. I could get used to this if I could get some extra child care, Tim, right? We'll introduce you to the newest member of our family and the KCAU family in just a bit.
And in weather, we have some cool nights straight ahead, but some warm, sunny days will sweeten the deal a little bit. Weekend rain chances, unfortunately, are moving up. Back in a minute to tell you all about that.
You're watching KCAU-9 News with Tim Seaman, Jenna Renstrom, and Chief Meteorologist Fred Hexum. This is KCAU-9 News at 5.